Before we get into the idea of pain and meaning, I want to start with a story. In Kindred by Octavia Butler, the main character, Dana, is a black woman living in 1970s California. Out of nowhere, she gets pulled back into time to antebellum South, where she comes face to face with slavery. Not as something that she learned in a textbook, but something that she has to survive in real time. And what makes it even more complicated is her relationship with Rufus, a white slave owner who is also her ancestor. At first, Dana thinks that she can manage the situation. She believes that she can influence Rufus, guide him, maybe even make him better. But over time, she realizes that her survival is tied to him, and that their relationship is not just about control, but about dependence, fear, and emotional manipulation. It's not just about physical violence, but it's about the way that power works through relationships. And that completely changes how we understand suffering. Now, let's compare that to The Prophet by Khalil Gibran, where pain is described in a completely different way. In the chapter on pain, Gibran suggests that suffering is something we should trust, that it exists to shape us, to deepen our understanding, and to ultimately make us better. And at first, that idea sounds comforting. But when you put that idea next to something like Dana's experience in Kindred, or even real-world experiences, it starts to feel a little more complicated. Gibran's idea of pain is honestly really beautiful. In On Pain, he describes suffering as something that breaks you in order to deepen your understanding. He tells the reader to trust the physician whose hand through heavy and hard is guided by the tender hand of the unseen. The unseen being God. Basically, he's saying that pain isn't random. It's intentional. It's shaping you to be a better version of yourself. And honestly, I think that's why so many people connect with it. I do. Because it gives suffering a purpose. It makes hard experiences feel like they're leading somewhere, like there's a reason behind them. And we see this idea everywhere, not just in literature, but also in our culture. Phrases like, everything happens for a reason, or what Kelly Clarkson says,
what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
All of those basically say the same thing. But the more that I sat down with this idea, the more that I started to actually question it. Because that kind of thinking only really works when suffering is natural. If it's random, if it's part of being a human. But what happens when it's not? What happens when suffering isn't just something that happens to you, but something that happens because of systems, because of bias, because of people not listening? At that point, calling pain meaningful starts to feel a little different. And that's where this whole idea really starts to fall apart for me. Because when you move out of philosophy and into real life, not all pain is random. And not all of it is meant to teach you something. Take Serena Williams, for example. After giving birth, she knew something was wrong. She told doctors she was having trouble breathing and that she had a history of blood clots. She literally asked for a CT scan and treatment. But instead of listening to her, her medical staff dismissed her concerns. She later said in a Vogue and a CBS interview that being heard and appropriately treated was the difference between life or death for me.
But this morning, in the February issue of Vogue, the Queen of the Courts is revealing the dramatic story behind the birth of her daughter and life as a new mom. Williams saying she had to deliver baby Olympia by emergency C-section in September, saying the moment her new daughter was laid on her chest was an amazing feeling, and then everything went bad. After feeling short of breath, a CT scan revealed that Williams had a pulmonary embolism and other blood clots, which set off coughing fits that burst her C-section incision. She then had to have additional surgery to correct and prevent more clots from forming. The whole time, Williams and her now husband keeping her condition private.
And that's the part that stuck with me, especially as a black woman who hopes to have kids of her own one day. Because that pain didn't make her into a better person. That wasn't some meaningful, transformative, or even a spiritual experience. That was preventable. And it's not just her. Statistically, Black women in the United States are nearly 3 times more likely to die from pregnancy-related causes than white women, and most of those deaths are considered preventable. So when you put that reality next to Gibran's idea that pain is something we must trust and lean into, it gets complicated. Because what are we exactly trusting? That doctors will listen? That systems will protect people? Or are we telling people to find meaning in something that never should have happened in the first place? And even on a more personal level, I've seen how pain can be misunderstood or minimized. There have been moments within even my own family where serious concerns during childbirth weren't fully taken seriously, and that led to complications that could have been handled differently if somebody would have just listened. And that's what makes this conversation feel bigger than just literature. Because at some point, calling pain meaningful stops being comforting and starts sounding like an excuse. If Gibran suggests that pain reveals truth, then Kindred shows what happens when that idea meets reality. Because Dana didn't come back from the past better or more enlightened in any type of way. She comes back physically and emotionally scarred. She literally loses part of her body. At the end of the novel, she realizes that the past is not something you can observe and walk away from. It stays with you. When Dana reflects on what she's been through, she says, "I had to accept it. I had to learn to live with it." That line isn't about growth in a beautiful or transformative sense. It's about survival. It's about carrying something that should have never happened in the first place. And that's the difference. Because unlike Gibran's idea that pain deepens understanding in a meaningful way, Butler shows that pain can also take something from you. It can limit you. It can stay in your body and follow you even after the moment has passed. And when you look at Dana's relationship with Rufus, it becomes even more clear that power isn't just physical. Dana thinks at first that she can influence him. She can guide him to being a better person. And in some ways, she can. He listens to her. He depends on her. And at one point, he even tells her, "You're the only friend I've got." But that doesn't change the system that they're in. Because at the end of the day, Rufus still has power over her. He can hurt her. He can control her. And Dana knows that her survival is tied to him, even when she starts to hate him. That's what makes this so complicated. Power in Kindred isn't just about violence. It's about relationships. It's about dependency. It's about being forced to stay connected with someone who has the ability to harm you. And that connects back to everything else. Because when we talk about suffering as something meaningful, we risk ignoring the systems that create it. We risk turning survival into something that sounds like a choice instead of something that people are forced into. Looking at Gibran, Serena Williams, and Kindred together shows that suffering is not just one universal experience. It can be spiritual, yes, but it can also be political. It can be preventable, and it can be shaped by power. And if we're not careful, the way we talk about pain can either expose injustices or quietly allow it to continue. That's what really matters here. Not just understanding pain, but questioning where it comes from, who it affects, and who has the power to change it.